how much time will pass before we actually get into paradise, and how will we recognize prophets there whom we had never met before?
I think you don't have to be impatient about that, because whenever your time comes, maybe after 100 years or so, from then on, from the time of death to actual entering the paradise, the time lapse may be more than 1 billion years, as we count them. Would be as long as it took evolution to start from an organism to reach the stage of man, which is told by the scientists to be about 1 billion years. So there are references in the Quran which indicate that the rebirth of man into that soul which will enter paradise, is like the first beginning of man here on earth. So that positively shows to me, and because of some other verses also which throw light on the same subject, I believe that the time lapse should be very big. Thank God that you would be unconscious. If you wait consciously, even for a few days, you know how it exasperates you. But to wait for 1 billion years or more, honestly, that would perhaps kill you again and again and again. So Allah has taken mercy on us, and we will pass through a state of barzakh, a state of semi-consciousness or complete oblivion, in which will be developed by God, and ultimately we reach the stage to enter heaven or hell, if Allah may please.
And the second part was, how will we recognize prophets there, the identity of prophets, if we had never met them before?
You will recognize them by their qualities and by a special potential given to you by Allah. If you recognize Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, naturally you will recognize him if you recognize him here. He has a very special role to play in reflecting God. So we know him to be a perfect mirror of those godly qualities which Allah wants to imbibe in us, wants us to follow. So if you know those values, those characteristics and those attributes, it's not at all difficult for you to recognize him there. You recognize people by features. You look at your sister, and because you know her features, you immediately recognize her. But the spiritual features are very strong, and for a spirit to recognize the spiritual features is much easier than you recognize a friend or relative of yours by physical features. So what do you care about the rest of the prophets? If you recognize Rasulullah Sallam, it should be more than sufficient for you. But by the same argument extended, Allah has already introduced the major prophets in the Holy Quran, and with the help of that introduction, if you know them here on earth, you will not fail to recognize them in the world hereafter. Got it?
Yes.